In this edition of the Shuttermaniac, let's talk about how to use a portable flash effectively. Flash has always been considered portable sunlight with a color balance of approximately 5500 to 6000 degrees Kelvin. It will render natural skin tones and pure whites even in mixed lighting situations. And it freezes action due to its relatively short duration of around 1/10,000 of a second. To use flash in its basic function, we must set the camera to its maximum shutter speed synchronization, which is nominally at around 1 over 250 for most modern DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. Controlling flash exposure is done by adjusting aperture or light to subject distance. This means that the further away a flash is positioned, the less amount of light hits the subject. In the old days, flash exposure was calculated by using the flash guide number and dividing it with the subject distance to get an approximate f-stop number. Let's say your flash had a guide number of 32 at ISO 100 and your subject is approximately 5 meters away. Simply divide 32 by 5 and you will get a value of 6.4. Now all you need to do is set your lens to the closest aperture setting, which is 6.3. Another old school method is by using a flash meter to take an incident light metered reading of the amount of flash falling on the subject. But there's a way around that, and this is by using a flash with an adjustable power ratio setting. Normally, the power ratio is controlled in increments of 1 f-stop, but modern flash units can vary power ratio in 1/3 f-stop increments as seen with this generic non-dedicated flash. Simply put, the power ratio controls the light output of any flash, and the obvious advantage is that you can use a constant aperture to achieve a shallow depth of field if that's the effect you were going for, especially in a portrait session. One interesting nuance of power ratio is that the lower the power ratio setting, the faster the flash duration will be, and this will be ideal for action shots or sports. This also means that the flash will recycle faster after each shot. Now, while flash is controlled only with either the power ratio or aperture setting, shutter speed will also play a role, but only in as far as ambient lighting will affect the final image. You can actually use the flash at lower shutter speeds or below 1 over 250 of a second to allow ambient lighting to still enter into the sensor and create a more interesting image. As a sample, I used a slow shutter speed combined with an incandescent bulb shining from behind the subject. The slower the shutter speed, the more of the yellow tint of the bulb entered the frame. Conversely, avoid using flash with a shutter speed faster than the maximum synchronization speed because it will result in a partially exposed frame, which is a direct result of the shutter closing as the flash fires. I hope that this presentation will help motivate you to use the flash more often. Remember, digital photography is cheap and you can keep shooting until you get the results that you want. And that's a wrap. This has been the Shutter Maniac, and as always, make serendipity happen.